right. Divine. Okay. Here.
Okay, my friends, we're live and we're also recording today's episode. Very special episode. I'm trying some new dark tone colors. You may or may not care about that, but we're gonna be talking about even like the film industry. So that's why I wanted to do something different for this episode. But before we do that, I have very special friends right here. One of them being my wife. And here's a question for you all. Is it better to have a wife or to have a friend in your wife? Do you consider me, Millie, more your friend or your husband?
Hi, Beto. You always ask the same question.
Yeah.
I want
but
you
now
as
in
my...
English.
It's both. Because I don't have intimate relationship with my friend.
Thank God, please.
But I can do that with my husband. So
okay.
I want both.
Yeah.
And both are pretty important.
Oh, very, 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 very important. Okay, Aisha, what do you think? Is it and we have a special guest, Aisha.
Hello.
We'll tell you more about Aisha. But Aisha, what do you think you would expect more from your future husband? For him to be, your husband, or for him to be kind of like best friend?
I think both, because I think if you have your husband, you like that should be your best friend, right? So, yeah, I think both. Is that a good answer?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
How about you, Beto?
I'm with friend. I love friendship, and I think to me that's a really high value for myself. And so, yeah, when I think of spouse, like I see you more as my friend. Like that's more my goal, that we are really, intimate friends, special friends, maybe even. But yeah, I like that. So I don't know. Just friendship is a really high value for me. And I see it in Jesus when he said, I will no longer call you servants, but I will call you friends.
Wow.
So I love that, even though some other theologians have said yes, but after Jesus resurrected, he never called them friends. He called them, disciples and this and that. So I'm like, I don't know if I buy it, but I like the idea of friendship as a really high value. So today we have a special guest, Aisha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the studio.
Guys. Thank you for having me. I'm so blessed.
How are you feeling today?
This is a divine appointment right now, to be honest. We were not expecting this. And I was just here for like a meeting for an hour. And then we just got into a really good conversation to the point where now we're like, let's do a podcast. So I feel really blessed. And you guys are just amazing in general. Honestly, you guys really inspire me to just continue to be more creative. And I could go on and on. But anyways, I feel good. I feel good.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here. Okay, Millie. So, we're going to go into Aisha's story. But before we do that, like you said, we were here and you said, let's record a podcast. But that was all because we have a studio for rent here, right? We're renting this studio here in Costa Mesa. Some people, sometimes travel, and when they're in Orange County, they rent the studio to record their episodes. Or sometimes they're podcasters who are based out of Orange County, and they come and rent, and they have, we've had MMA fighters, NFL players, we have, musicians, whatnot, all kinds of people. But all that to say, we met you kind of like with that background that we have the studio, we're renting it. You kind of wanted to check it out and see if you wanted to record a podcast. But as we got to know you a little bit, Millie's like, we need to do a podcast with you right now. So I have a few ideas in mind for what I want to learn about your story. But I think this originated in Millie first. So I want you to kind of like say, what is the first thing you would love to know about Aisha, Millie?
Well, we've been talking already like almost for more than an hour. And I feel like I know you forever. That's a beautiful feeling. And I just want to be a good servant.
Yeah.
I just want to lift you up. I notice your talents. I can see your heart through your eyes. So for me, it's and when you were telling me a little bit your story, where you've been this couple months ago and telling us your testimony, I was like, God, Jesus, you're talking to me right now.
Yes.
And that's why I thought you know what, this can be so helpful to for people who follow us or who listen to us. We all have a story to tell, and yours was fascinated. But why you don't tell us a little bit about your background? I think that it's important, Beto, because he's been like all around the world, living different cultures.
Yeah.
Right? And that wiring is good to know for what God is going to do in your life. You know, where we at here in U.S., Costa Mesa, California, it's multicultural. You know, and all the cultures have something. They have so much to share. So why you don't tell us a little bit? So because I think Beto was doing the cameras and he didn't listen, but that's nice. That's nice to hear. You know,
I
the hard work.
thought she's like Mexican or something like that.
She looks like a little bit Latina.
Lizardo sounds to me like Latin American last name, but I think I overheard like it's like Philippines or something like that, right? So so that's awesome. So why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, so my name's Asia, and I grew up I was born in the Philippines, and we lived there for about a couple of years, and then my family and I actually had to move to Saudi Arabia for my dad's work. He's an aircraft mechanic, so he would have to like travel from time to time. So we moved to Saudi Arabia for a couple of years. That was a wild, intense situation, I guess, because it was back during the oil war, and I sound like a grandma when I say that, like back in the oil war.
You're so young.
Back in the oil war. But yeah, we ended up living there, and that was actually one of my first few memories as honestly a baby there, just petting camels, like the baboons around us,
That's awesome.
eating the yellow rice. I think it was so good. And then we had to like leave, and we ended up moving to Canada, and we kind of stayed in Canada for a while now. And then I lived in Vancouver from maybe the age of like 5 to 15 years old, and then I moved to Montreal for 8 years. And then after that, I moved to pursue acting, to really take it seriously, because I guess because now we are talking a little bit more about the film industry. I grew up doing musical theater, and that was I guess it kind of runs in the family. A lot of my aunts and uncles, they're all entertainers. So from the Philippines. So yeah, a lot of them are actors and, singers and DJs and stuff, which is nice. And my dad's side is more on like the political side of things.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's really, really exciting. So I guess we have that, I guess, passion to entertain. But so my mom, she took me to like a bunch of dance classes and acting classes, as a kid. I would do like ballet, hip hop, all that stuff. But then I really found my passion when I was performing musical theater growing up. And I did that for about, honestly, all my life after, how do I say this? Yeah, since like high school, and then it moved to college, and I tried to do something a little bit more realistic. I was like, okay, well, I can't be playing characters all the time or whatever. Like I have to try something else. So I tried cooking. I tried, like being in politics. I tried,
because it feels unreal to be an actor.
To be honest, like my family always wanted me to have like a secure job, especially in the Philippines, it's very like, okay, let's be a nurse, like let's go into, it's just super, super typical in a sense. But I just always had that like, I tried to, when I was in college, I tried to do, arts and communications for some reason, but then I ended up, it was funny because I remember I was doing I had an extracurricular activity that I get to choose, and one of them was theater in college. And I was like, what, I could do that. It's like an easy class. Like it's been a minute. And then I remember once I went into the class, I I fell in love and I switched my whole major from communications to theater. And my parents were like, why?
Wow.
And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. I can't run from this. So it was good. It was a journey. And then I decided to really take acting more seriously after college. Actually, after college, I did a little bit of university in Montreal, which was in Concordia. And I did, what did I do? I did political science. So I did political science. I majored in it. I failed the first semester. I hated it.
Wow.
I only aced like one class, which was philosophy of politics, which was really genuinely like I actually found interesting. But the rest, it was just like a headache. And
What is this?
I realized I only like politics to
Wow,
a certain
crazy.
extent. Yeah. And then I failed that whole semester. Like they literally, I think I got kicked out. And
Wow.
I cried to my mom because that day I went to school thinking for some reason that I had classes, but then I didn't realize through the summer that they emailed me saying, oh, you have to I guess answer some emails to make sure that you're actually coming to class. But I guess I missed the emails. Anyways, it was just like one of those like really like stupid moments that I had.
Did they say something like, "You're never gonna be a politician"?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, honestly, a blessing in disguise. But I remember going into all these classes because I technically was scheduled, but I didn't realize that they had to like cancel, my classes because I didn't answer those emails. So it was weird. And then I remember going into
Like, I can't believe that this happened.
Yeah.
Like, just
I went into all
because
those
I
classes.
didn't reply to text message. Wow.
I went into all those classes thinking, and I had all my friends, like I was so excited, and then I remember like, we were going to go buy books at the library, but then I was like opening up my account for Concordia and I got nothing. There was like no books that I was assigned to me. So then I went to my teacher or the office. And I was like, hey, like, I'm not assigned to any of the books. I don't understand what's going on. And they're like, you're not enrolled for this semester. I was like, what? So could you imagine I was like,
That's
so
crazy.
shocked. And I genuinely was like, I dropped, like my heart dropped because I was like, I need to do school. Like this is like, like it's education at the end of the day. So I remember like crying in my car and I was like calling my mom. I was like, Mom, like I got kicked out. I think my, it was so low that I got kicked out, like my GPA or something. And I think I missed a couple of like the emails and she was just like, well, what are you going to do? And then I was just like, honestly, Mom, like it was kind of a blessing in disguise because, I really want to like focus on acting, like really just like go 110% in it. So she was in California at this time. She was already working in California. And I always wanted to live in California, like since I was like 14, 13.
Why?
I don't know. I just always, the beach, all those
palm trees
the palm trees. It was so, like I guess I don't know what it was, but I just genuinely felt like a calling.
You
to
think
go there.
did you grow up like knowing about like Hollywood and the Hollywood sign, and
I think
you knew
so.
it was in California, something like that,
and
or no?
honestly, growing up too, like I definitely like looking back now, especially reflecting a lot, I definitely romanticized this place back then. Like because now I can feel like, okay, if I have to move, I really don't mind. But I always had that like dream. At that time, I was around, I think I was 18, 19. I was like, I want to go to California, all that stuff, and then or 17, I don't remember. But anyways, it was in my late teens, I guess. And my mom's like, okay, fine, like go here and really take acting seriously. And I was debating if I would do film acting in California or theater in Toronto, like either or. But I was I think I have so much respect for theater actors too, just because it's so hard. It's like you live, breathe, eat theater, and just being on stage constantly, just rehearsing all that stuff. It's a lot of work and stuff. I did theater too, a couple for, before even film. But anyways, so I moved to California and I really took acting very seriously then. Like I trained, in a lot of like studios. I did a lot of like audition work. I did Meisner, all that stuff. It was a lot of just techniques that I was I was doing, and then finally I got signed with management there, but then they found out I was Canadian, so they were like, oh, well, we can't really put you in any of these, you know, like any auditions, because you're not going to get a good pay, and it just doesn't really make sense. You have to go back to Canada. So I was like, oh. So I moved back to Vancouver, and that's when I really, you know, like I was looking for agencies there. So then I got signed with a film and TV agent. Film and TV agent, and then that's when we booked our first show. It was on Netflix. It was my first one-liner show ever, like one-liner role, and it was good. It was the Babysitters Club on Netflix, episode 7, and and it was nice. I had to like play the mean girl or whatever. It was good. I was crying. It was funny because I remember I was like, I really wanted to just it was at that time I was actually coming to know who God was too. I was also going through it in my like living in LA. The LA lifestyle was very you know, when I was doing acting there, I was also obviously living in LA at the time in Orange County, and I would go out a lot, and I felt like I was losing my purpose over there, you know, like networking became partying, all that stuff. And then yeah, I think it was a very big calling for me to have to move back to Canada, just to calm down and just to, you know, be more just slow, I guess, like just slow and steady and steadfast, I guess you could say. So then finally, I actually went to a church. I went to a church.
Had you grown up like knowing about the faith or Christ or stuff like that? Or?
I grew up Catholic.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up
just like in Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic.
Hey, it's good background, okay?
No, yeah. But I'm saying how similar it is.
My
Philippines.
Catholic.
Yeah,
and,
same.
You know,
Yeah.
I have a huge respect, and
the last names are similar, like in the Philippines and in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we have a lot in common.
We do, because I
worlds
think
away.
Spain invaded the Philippines, right? I think that's what happened. The Spaniards, yeah. So, so yeah, I grew up Catholic, but I never really put God in the center of my life. I never really put God in the center of my life. And I was told to go to a Christian church from a friend of mine. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And I went by myself to this random church that I Googled, and I cried right when I sat down by myself in the sermon. Worship was so beautiful, and I've never experienced a church like that before, because you know Catholic churches, they're very different, obviously. So
that was in LA, in Los Angeles.
that was in Vancouver. I lived in Vancouver at that point, so I moved back because my mom's like, you need to go back, like you're losing your purpose here, you're supposed to be focusing on acting, yet you like I was, but then at the same time I wasn't, in a sense.
Too much partying,
too much this, too much festivals, all that stuff. So she was like, you need to move back. And plus the management was telling me like, you just have to move back for, you know, it just made more sense.
And what made you go to the church, like for the first time, like do this different type of church?
Well, to be honest, like I just felt very, so what happened was like, a friend of mine kept telling me about God, and I just was like, okay, like why, you know, I was like, why? And I was going through it. I think a lot of my friends and I, we were all going through it. You know, we were kind of lost. So one of them actually found Jesus in our friend group, and then, you know, they were like you should check out a church on, you know, there. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So I went, and I was genuinely like blown away from the sermon. I think they were talking about the 4 storms and in life that we go through, and why Jesus died for us, and how, you know, we have to, like, Jesus is our rock in a sense. And I just thought, wow, I was crying. And I remember like I started really asking who Jesus is. You know, like I knew about Jesus, but I never really understood why he really died for us. And, you know, why, like on a deeper level. So then I ended up actually going to church by myself, like frequently at that point. And then I started kind of being more part of the community. And then I started having to cut people off because I realized, oh, they're not really good influences on me. Or there was a point I was so strict with my routine that every morning I would read the Bible and I would only talk to maybe a few people before 1 p.m. And then by 1 p.m. I can really just talk to everybody and stuff. But the people who are really, really faith-based, like I only had a few friends that were super, super like faith-based in that moment. I was only able to if I really wanted to socialize, I'll talk to them type of thing. So I was like, don't talk to anyone after 1 p.m. or something like that. And, so I would just meditate in the morning with the Bible, pray, have my coffee, go for a spiritual walk. And I felt like I was really talking to God. The Holy Spirit was really connecting with me. And it was such a beautiful, first few months that God has shown me who he was. And at that point I decided to, I really started changing my lifestyle around because when I moved from LA to Vancouver, I remember the first few weekends, I was super, super anxious if I wasn't going out. I was like, why is everyone not going out? I don't understand. And it's like, oh, it's raining, it's like, I'm just staying home. And I was like, so what if it's raining? You know what I mean? I was just in that crazy state of mind. We always have to go out every weekend. Doing. Yeah. And, or I always had to distract myself. When it comes to work or when it comes to, friends or socialize and all that stuff, it was just too much. And I realized I needed to work in stillness at that point. So finally, when I got my mental health more straightened out in a sense, I decided to focus more on my acting again. And then I remember just praying. I was like, God, if this is in your will, I don't know why you put this passion in me to continue to do acting. I just don't understand why, because honestly, it is really hard. The film industry is very, very hard. You're getting 99.9 rejected a lot when it comes to auditions. And that's, there are times where I've cried in not getting the audition.
I can imagine. Mm-hmm. I don't want to show up there.
It's
because
hard.
I always want to belong and be part of it. And the rejection is tough for me.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a
you need to be so strong.
Weird question. On my cell phone, I don't know why, whatever, a year ago, 2 years ago, I get random texts that say, Beto, we want you to audition for blah, 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 blah. Can you make an audition? I'm like, what? And now, because I guess nobody was responding to these things, now I get the same text, but now it says it's for Stranger Things, or it's for, and it says which show.
Oh my gosh,
I'm like, but I don't know. It sounds like a scam. Does that happen?
For
is
sure.
it probably a scam?
I wouldn't trust it, especially on the internet. I think it's. Yeah, I've gotten scammed too, especially when you're an aspiring actress, we
have this role and what happens?
I've literally taken, there was one point where I remember I was in LA, and especially in the city, everyone wants to be an actor here. So, at that point, I know just a lot of people in general, right? So they go to LA and they're like, oh, this is it. This is our start and stuff. I've definitely gotten scammed when I think there was one class that was way too overpriced. And it was, it wasn't good. It was the techniques that they were teaching there was very you felt like you were in grade 10 or grade 9, doing all these weird I don't know. I just was not progressing, and they were saying, "Oh, an agent's gonna come see you or something like that. So you guys have to be prepared for the next few months in our classes." And little did we know, the agents barely, did anything for that class. And it was just one of those money hungry. Yeah. I was now, I tell all my friends who are pursuing acting or any of that stuff, be careful with those, because it's real out there. They genuinely, so many people try to scam, especially actors who are desperate to want to start off kickstart their career and stuff. But that's just the beauty of the industry.
Wow.
It's crazy because we have scams for every industry.
Yeah, they figured out a way to
and the crazy thing that some statistic show up. The women are doing that because are behind the scenes. You know, we always think that it's men, like men's doing that. You know, who's gonna rob a bank?
No,
It's not gonna be a woman. It's not gonna be a woman.
Yeah.
But now, because you don't see them, and they're on computers, on
Now it's women.
telephones, it's women doing that.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Crazy.
There's scams for everything. Beware.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy story. So you go to this church, you start following Jesus, start reading the Bible. You said this was kind of interesting because you use the word, it helped me with my mental health.
Yeah.
Right? So are you saying like Jesus heals your mind, heals?
He does.
Like,
I feel like Jesus definitely made me more self-aware, because before I found him, I genuinely felt like I was very obviously in my flesh, but I was also like at this stage in my life, like I had that revelation where I felt like I woke up every morning in the world and I was just getting crashed waves by waves left and right. And it was just so noisy and so distracting until when I really found to know who God is. And I was like, wow, I was taking more accountability with the things that I was doing. If I was hurting people, or if I was, I was taking more accountability and more responsibility within myself. And just, it was that like spiritual maturity that I was like really craving and that I really wanted. And just like that self-development and that self-work that I was like, wow, like, okay, there's just so much more. And then I started, also my biggest revelation was like, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about other people. It's to be of service to other people. And that was just such a freeing thing to have. And it just changes your whole perspective in life and the way you love people and the way you are with people. And yeah, honestly, he really changed my life. I started taking alpha courses, which were, like courses to
they're so good.
It's so good, like to understand who God is. And I was asking all these crazy questions like, wait, why did he die for us? I don't understand. Like, what about the Old Testament, the New Testament, this and that, and it just all interconnects, and it's just so cool. And I really found my community there. And that's when I decided to get baptized. And when I got baptized, it was just one of the most beautiful, like I did a prayer and fasting before and after that. And, honestly, and then I just saw God flourish in my life at that point. And I just remembered, after my baptism, I wasn't even concentrating much on I feel like acting was always in the back of my mind, because it was a career choice, and it's a very how do I say it? For me, I was just waitressing at that point, and I was doing auditions. So to me, at that point, my ego was very I would die if I didn't do acting type of thing. I was really identifying myself as an actor at that point in my life. But when I was starting to get baptized, I was fully more concentrating on other people and other things. And I just saw God working through me. And I don't know if it's because that's all I had going for me was all these auditions and just waitressing, and I didn't really have any other, I think 3 days go by and I was doing a lot of intense praying, and I was just in my room for I think 3 days straight in the dark. I don't know why, but I was just praying so heavily to the point where I was crying, and I was and then I was doing auditions when I would leave the house, and then I would come back home, and I'm just God, just tell me if this isn't for me, that's it, just give me a sign or something. And then that's when we booked that show. And then it was funny because when we did that show, I was like, wow, me and my agent, we were having this momentum, right? But God always comes in to humble you. I think God definitely does that. So,
he's an expert.
Oh, yeah. He does that in many ways, because COVID happened. COVID happened right after we were doing more auditions. And so I was like, oh, man, so not only the film industry went down, but the whole industry, everyone,
the
world went down. So everything was we were jobless. And
wow.
At the time, an ex of mine was working at construction. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this would be a good idea. That was the only job that was available at that point. So I was like, okay, fine. I will, I will go and do construction work. And so I ended up from LA to Canada, now in the boonies somewhere in the middle of nowhere for 6 months straight, 16 hours a day. Well, I think we did a 19-hour shift once, and I'm flagging in the middle of nowhere, with a stop sign and all that stuff, with like a yellow highlighting suit. And
so like let some trucks go by and stuff like that, direct traffic.
24 days on, 4 days off. So it was 24 days straight work, 16 to 18 hours a day, and then 4 days off break. And I mean, thank God, it was definitely, it was good money at the end of the day, but my mental health was just like, like I was.
You make me for something better than this.
Yeah, I was like, because I really surrounded, it made me want to appreciate what I wanted to do in my life more. I was like, I cannot see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And what
was the construction? What were they doing? Building?
We were paving highways. So, and it wasn't like it was honest work at the end of the day, but it was more so like the people that you surround yourself with, you could just tell like this. It was just it made me really sad. I was kind of like grieving for them, because I was just like, to think that this is what they, how do I say it? Because I have so much respect for construction workers. They do a lot. But my crew personally, I found that, there was a lot of like drinking, a lot of like, just very, this is it, and, they would spend a lot of money just on drinks. And I'm just like, okay, I don't like, it pushed me to want to do the things that I love to do. So after I finished 6 months of work over there, I ended up, I came back. I actually gained a lot of weight at that point too. I was like,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of
that's what happens
out.
When we work in construction.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm not gonna, like have a bad diet. I ended up having a very bad diet. So then I finally worked at a gym, and that's when I, lost the weight, and then, as much as I could at that point, and then wanted to, I had a passion for health and fitness too, because I always used to I really loved the gym and working out and all that stuff. So I decided, okay, well, you know what, maybe I'll just, focus on that while I, do my acting stuff, right? So health, and you get to do the acting. So everything you can see, I always intercorrelated my acting to my, whatever everything. It is. It was always in the back of my head. So then I remember when I got hired at the gym, like the first week, they were like, well, we don't know how to feel about, like working with an actor or whatever. And I was like, I haven't gotten booked in a really long time. Like, you're good. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to get booked in a while. Actually, I ended up getting booked at another show the week I got hired. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, because now I'm at this point where I have to like find a balance of working a full-time job there, and then letting my boss know, hey, just a heads up, I have to, do a show and stuff. So we ended up shooting for like 3 days in Whistler, which was so cool. And it was such a small role, which was awesome. I loved doing like those small roles. It was cool. But I had that mentality where I'm like, so wow, like this is so cool. Like they get to do all these, I get to see the set, for at least a day. And, being on set and then seeing the cast and the crew just work together and just make a story, and just like, it's actually such a cool thing. But it sucked because like I was only there for a day. They get to do this for like 6 months straight, and I get to go back into, like either waitressing or working at a gym or something. So you definitely felt very like, appreciative in those moments. So then after a while, I started working at the gym, and I kind of got really, how do I say it? Stagnant.
Stagnant.
Yeah, stagnant. Like, just
that's how you say it.
In Spanish? In Spanish?
Atorado.
Oh, really?
O estancado. Estancado.
Yeah, I got stagnant at the gym. I was like, I was working so much, and I felt like I wasn't even focusing on my acting classes anymore, all that stuff. And I was like, man, like this is this is kind of getting, where is this? I don't know what was going on. I just didn't feel.
Aisha, please drink your coffee.
Yeah, sure.
Beto, we need to share with her the story of this guy. ¿Cómo se llama?
I don't know.
The show we saw, that he was working for 20 years.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
But,
I think my colors are too red, but whatever.
Why too red, Beto?
No, I'm looking at...
Are you shy,
Yeah, I'm
Beto?
looking at my colors. I'm like, man, I think it's too red. It's okay. There's a show called The Chosen, right? Because you were mentioning...
Yes, I love
right?
The Chosen. It's
You're
so
mentioning,
good. Yeah,
I don't know if you were saying it on air or before we started recording, but we were watching... it's called Jesus and Jonathan. So it's the main actor that plays the role of Jesus,
you need to
right?
watch that.
Jonathan Rumi?
Jonathan Rumi.
Love him.
His testimony.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
wow.
did a documentary on him.
I was crying and
Yeah.
crying and crying. That's my life. I know one day. Oh my goodness. It's okay. He worked so hard for 20 years.
As an actor,
As
right?
an actor.
Wow.
Like he was living like day by day. One night he was like, I don't have money to eat
Ugh.
and pay my rent.
I feel
and
that.
he's like, you know what? I'm done. I give up. I give you everything. Like I can do this no more. I'm done. And after he prays, at the next day he wakes up and go to his mail and he start receiving checks.
Wow.
So like, and he's recording everything. Like, look, I know I prayed to God yesterday and he answered my prayer and I have this check, and hours after I go again and I have another check. So far I have money to pay my rent and to pay my bills and food.
Wow.
But at the next day, they call me to be part of The Chosen.
Oh, that is
No, I think
so
it was
good.
a month.
A month
It took
after?
a month.
That's
But
so
he
good.
had the money for a month,
That's
to
so
like
good.
survive and all of that.
Yeah.
And
But
then
before
within that
that-
month, Dallas, the guy from The Chosen, called him and it's like, hey, I want to talk to you about a project called The Chosen.
Wow.
It is so tough, and it's funny because we have our son Joseph. He's 14 years old, and sometimes, I think happened to all of us that we have these huge dreams, and you start, working on it, and you see that nothing is happening, and kind of you give up. Like, I'm done. This is not working anymore, and you know what? Let's try something else because this is not working. And my son, he stepped on a chair and he's like, Mom, Dad, don't listen to my mom. You know what? Remember this person who worked so hard and finally did it? Like, never stop working on your dreams.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't listen to my mom. She don't know what she's talking about. Keep working because this is our passion. Camera, Beto's passion.
Wow.
I'm just the wife
I see.
trying to help. And we built all this beautiful studio,
Yeah.
and we're working so hard Beto's working so hard on the podcast and making reels, and I'm just come with this what we have, right? Like, Lord, this is your time, this is your space, this is your life, but we need to eat.
Yeah.
We need money to survive. How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
Because this is art. Cameras, like what you're doing is art.
Yeah.
And I can imagine your story, your
Yeah.
life is tough.
Crazy.
Yeah, but always waiting.
Yeah.
Always waiting
Always
in the
waiting.
Lord, because how I hear you and I listen to you, God have a huge purpose for you.
Thank you.
And have a beautiful, because the Bible say that our dreams are nothing compared with God's dreams.
Yes. Oh, wow. That was
You
so
know,
good.
and
yeah.
and you were saying that you want to do your own podcast, and you already have 3 that you record,
Yeah.
right? and you feel like you need to work on this
Yeah.
and come with you're working on your own project.
Yeah.
And I hear you being scared. Like,
Yeah,
I'm scared.
The fear, yeah.
The fear.
Yeah.
And it's so natural.
Yeah.
It's so natural. But you're going to find that when you work on it, when you start doing that, because it's, it's not acting, but it involves, cameras, microphones.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe you can act like, a little bit.
Just a little cry,
so
a
they
little
can
tear.
believe you.
Yeah, no, it's honestly like at that point, yeah, like going back to that, because I want to, connect that. I want to connect that with what you just said. I felt that stagnant energy that I wasn't doing what I actually wanted to do or what was God's calling for me. So then that moment I decided I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go back to LA and I'm just going to, like focus on the podcast. Like I've been wanting to do a podcast since 2019 and I wanted to focus maybe like on my sisters. They have like a body sculpting for a business for their health and wellness. So I was like, okay, I could do that to make the money on the side, not even on the side, just like my main income and all that stuff. So I had that, there was this like calling that I had, and I also felt a calling to stay at to go to one of the churches here in Anaheim. For some reason, I don't know what it was. I just kept having these visions of me being at the Anaheim church. So I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna give it to you at this point. And when I went there, that's when I started really just trying to like, focus on these projects. And at this point, the strike happened, right? There was a film industry.
The actors.
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard for all of us. Again, another discouraging thing because it was COVID and then it was the strike. And then at that point, I was like, man, like how much more trials and tribulations do we have as actors, to go through in a sense? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this as an opportunity for me to venture out on some other things. And, like at the end of the day, I will always like my heart will always be with acting, but I just could, do other projects for now. I think that would have been, I felt freeing at that moment. I was like, it's fine if I have less auditions this month or whatever. So then I ended up, I then met you guys, which was awesome. And then, I felt like I was having this momentum, interviewing people, all this stuff. And then out of the blue, I had a random audition for a supporting lead role for a film. And I'm thinking, okay, we may or may not get this, but I've been finally getting back into my creativity with my acting classes. So I felt very like in my how do I say, element. I felt like I was in my element at this point, like doing the projects that I really love, feeling more secure now that I, was like living with my parents and we have a house in Riverside. So I'm not like worried about the bills and all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay, like I can actually be creative and do the things that I want to do. So I did the audition and I was like, I did it with my sister. And I remember thinking,
she's an actor too?
No,
what do you mean she did it?
She just read it. She read it for me. I needed someone to read over FaceTime and stuff. So it's a self-tape audition. Oh. So because of the COVID, it's a blessing for a lot of actors because we don't have to audition locally now. Nice. We can audition self-tapes.
So cool. So,
yeah, which is kind of like a blessing in disguise. I do miss the in-person auditions because there's a lot of pros and cons to it. But I ended up auditioning and I got my sister to read it. And I think because my sister and I read it together, it felt very natural because it was a girl who plays
having fun.
Yeah, just having fun. It was like a girl who's super bubbly, plays a best friend, and I was like, this is literally me. So then I ended up doing that with her, and then next thing you know, I get a call back. I'm like, whoa, I haven't had a call back in so long. So I'm like thinking, okay, so I ended up having a callback. I prepared for the callback. It was I think it was with the producers and the director on a Zoom call. And I was a little nervous, but I was like, you know what? There's a reason why, they wanted me here. It's like, let's just be in my element again. So then I did the callback and I didn't hear from them. But then maybe I think like a few days go by. They're like, oh, like your I guess one of the few choices who plays the role of Gabby in this movie. I'm like, oh, that's exciting. So I'm praying on it. My family's praying on it. And if it happens, it happens. I'm at this stage where I'm like, if it's in God's will, it's in God's will. I've been praying that I'm like, God, if it's not for me, take it away from me. I'm at that point. And, I went through a lot this last 6 months, especially after a really, really hard breakup. And at that point, I'm just like, God, like whatever is in your will, like, let me just do your will, thank you for this audition. But if it's not for me, take it away. And I ended up, I was having a moment where I'm like, maybe I won't get this, but I'm genuinely okay with it. Like genuinely, I'm actually okay. I'll just continue with whatever. Next thing you know, a few days go by. And I think it was that moment I realized, I don't think I'm going to get this, but that's okay. And then my agent, she literally texted me. She's like, we got approved. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean we got approved? She's like, you got the role. She calls me. I'm like crying. I was like, this is insane. This is one of the biggest like roles I've ever done. It's a supporting lead for a feature film starring like, very, I guess well-known people. And I was like, this is insane. I cannot believe this is happening. Thank you, Jesus. So I ended up going there and I'm thinking like I had to fly back to Canada, obviously, because that's where we had to, film. So we shot there for like a month or so. And, it was such a beautiful, it was one of those like moments where I'm like, this is surreal. Like, I was, we had a beautiful hotel provided for us. There was like drivers, they would drive us to being on set on Circus. And it was just like, I get to do this for, I don't know how many days, but I don't get to do it just for one day. I get to do it for a while, and I was excited. Wow. And it was great, but I felt like my mind was so overly stimulated at that moment because I was like, it was such a go-go. I would wake up super early. We would go on set. We would, hair and makeup, go straight on set, like, rehearse, blocking, all that stuff. It was great overall. But then my mind was overstimulated and we had to do interviews, social media, work, in between takes. And it would go on for maybe like 10, 12 hours after. And then I would go home in my hotel and then I'm just like silent. It's silent. And I would call my sister, my friends, but then like there were days where they just didn't pick up because, they have their own lives and stuff, right? But when those days happened, I didn't realize how quiet my mind was and how unsettled I was. And in that moment, I was like, why am I so like, this is crazy. I'm like, this is it. This is what, what I've been wanting for so long. I don't understand where this is like, how, like, I don't know if it was like a, what is it called? I forgot what my friend said it. She said you had like it's something to do with mental health, but I forgot what it was called. It'll come back to me. And, the imposter syndrome or something. I felt like I had like, maybe it was imposter syndrome. But I was like, no, but I'm so in my element when I'm on set. Like I love being on set. Like I black out and I'm just like in it, I don't think it's me feeling, but then I told her, I was like, I am going through like this thing where I feel like I don't deserve it because I'm so used to failing forward. I'm so used to getting rejected. I feel like someone else should take my place. You know what I mean? So it was weird. Like I genuinely felt like I didn't deserve it at that moment. And I remember I would just cry a lot and I would just like cry in my hotel room. And I was like, why am I feeling this way? And in that moment, I decided to worship and I decided to pray because I think I was so distracted throughout those, throughout the days. And I was like, God, please tell me what it is that you're telling me. Like, what are you trying to tell me? And all I kept hearing in the back of my mind, Jesus saying, I am more important. I am the only one that fills your joy. Wow. And I literally had like shivers, like thinking like, this is true. Like you are like this whole time I've been identifying myself as an actor. This whole time I've been wanting that validation to be accepted with so many, like just people in this world. And then I didn't realize like Jesus literally gave me this moment and was like, here you go. Let me show you how important I am because this is not going to fill you at the end of the day. And I'm just like, wow. That was such a healing and such a beautiful moment. And I genuinely just felt like I just felt so healed. Like, I can let this go. If I chose to, like, if somebody told me, you know, like I feel like I'd be genuinely okay owning a business. I'd be okay just doing my own little projects here and there. I'd be okay, like, you know what I mean? And it was such a beautiful moment in that moment of my identity in Christ. Like, I am a daughter of God. That's all that is. And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine. He was a driver. His name was Mike. Shout out to Mike. And he used to drive me to set. He's this older man. And, you know, he told me he had a near-death experience. And I literally was telling him about my testimony of, like, how I met Jesus. And he then started, like, getting into the Bible after that. He admitted to me, he was just like, Asia, I actually started, like, reading the Bible again and all that stuff. And, you know, I told him, like, that's so beautiful. That, let me tell you, that moment was the moment I felt more joy than being on set in general.
Wow.
And that just shows, that's a lot. Like, that to me, that's like, wow. Like, here, like, to know that Mike is literally out there, like, you know, with his testimony, like, just like, the fact that my testimony was able to, like, for him to feel this sort of, like, connection with God, and that he's gonna get to know who God is now, that he's starting to really read the Bible now, is just that fills me more joy than, like, you know, than honestly, like, being on set for, like, 12 hours or something like that. It was such a beautiful moment, honestly. And I finally, like, let that go, and I then really appreciated being in on set. And I then really appreciated just being in the moment. And then I invited a few of my girlfriends to come through, you know, like, take advantage of the hotel, might as well. So I left at that point. And then ever since then, I came back here, and I'm just like, wow, I'm okay to, you know, focus on the pod now, focus on, you know, like, my projects again.
Wow.
And yeah. So that's the testimony.
I don't know, but God is telling me to tell you, you are on set for me every day.
Wow. Yeah. That's so good.
Oof. Yeah,
Wow.
I agree. I think,
So
man, it's
true.
so profound, because I've always thought, like, acting is one of the careers in this world that it's I see it from the outside as almost, like, unnatural, you know, like, because, like you were saying, you know, there's construction, you know, you're building things, you know, highways where people drive on, and, you know, tables that people use for cooking. And, you know, when I think, and I'm a musician, you know, so I think I relate a lot with what you were saying about coming to Los Angeles and having, you know, the dreams, and how many people are here in Los Angeles. Because for a while, you know, I came from Mexico, and Millie knows our story, where, you know, for a while I was like, oh, I'm gonna be in a band, and we're gonna do music, and, you know, trying to connect to people in Los Angeles. And of course, this was like Spanish networking, you know, we opened for a few, you know, big names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, this is gonna be my shot, you know. So it's super similar, you know. It's a different industry, but it's related.
A
you know,
lot of
'cause it's
rejection.
a lot of rejection, yes. And so you still have this dream, but acting, it seems to me like, wow, like, let's just put, you know, whomever is, like, the, I don't know if the best actor, but the most successful actor. It feels like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
what does it mean to be a successful actor? You know, to portray stories that other people resonate with. I mean, it's cool, you know, but when I look at it, it's like, wow, the core is that I think as humans, we are so narrative oriented, right? Like, we're creatures of stories, and we believe the stories that we are raised in, and we step into stories, right? So I think that's why, you know, being an actor is such a big deal, because you're telling stories, and stories matter, right? And the stories that we tell shape the world.
So true.
So that's where I was like, wow, acting is just so interesting. But anyways, with Millie's point that she's saying, you know, you're on set for me, I was resonating with that too, you know, because even the testimony of Jonathan Rumi with his, you know, becoming the lead actor for Jesus, right, on this series that has blown up. I'm like, wow, it's almost like God knows how stories are so important for us that he wants us to live the best role that we will ever live, but for ourselves, like for our own story, almost to the point of saying, with Jonathan Rumi, is like, Jonathan Rumi to me is more important than Jesus Jonathan, right? So in this case, I feel like for an actor to realize that it's what you did, you realize my identity is not acting, right? My identity is Christ, and God gave you the chance and the opportunity to be on set and still feel discontented and still feel like, wow, I feel like something's missing. But then that glimpse of this man who encountered you and started reading the Bible and all of that, and God affirming that and saying, that's bigger and that's what I have for you. Right. But I don't think God's taken away, the dream per se, right? And saying, oh yeah, this dream doesn't matter. Like I can use that. Yeah. Right. But it's so valuable to know that your identity in Christ is more important, because that's really the role he wants you to play in your life.
So true.
Right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree, because like all my life, like that's what I battled with, like I've literally ended relationships, like long-term relationships, because they couldn't date an actor and all that stuff. And then I even think about it too, like in general, like if I really wanted a godly marriage, at what cost, as an actor do I, like at what cost? Because like biblically, like I'm still trying to figure it out, at this time. And like I personally can't date an actor just because like it's such a complicated industry, but it's just one of those things where I'm just like, okay, like I can go into the directorial kind of like area and all that stuff, because I just want, I do have this passion for stories. Like I do have a passion for, like I didn't just do this for the fame, or else I would have given them like 10 years ago, you know what I mean? But it was just more so like every time I'm in a theater, every time I, watch a movie, like you could either like escape from your own life or relate to whatever that story is. And I think that's the beauty of storytelling. And I do have a passion for telling stories, and I used to write as a kid a lot, especially like little books here and there, like little tiny short stories on Wattpad. Cool. I don't know if you guys heard of Wattpad before.
No.
It's
what is that?
It's like YouTube but for writers. So they just like write a bunch of stories, and then you get viewers, and sometimes it blows up and it becomes like a best-selling novel. Actually, like there's a few movies based off of Wattpad's like stories.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I ended up I would do that, and then I always had a big passion. And I'm actually like in the midst of like script writing a film right now, and it's like, and it's funny, the more I've wanted to write this since I was 15, but now the more as I grow older, the more I just want to like immerse God into it, as I'm building my relationship with God more and more. So I'm just like, it's so crazy how like, it's just all in God's timing, at the end of the day. I still don't know what he wants me to do at this point, like whether if I just venture, to other things or stick to I couldn't tell you, like, I really don't know, but I do know at the end of the day that I fully really understood what surrendering to God was in that moment. And it was just one of the most beautiful experiences I find. Like I was always in control of my own life, and there was only moments, like just little moments here and there, that I felt like, okay, God, like you take the wheel. But this time around, I'm at this mentality where I'm like, God, please, like if it's in your will, take it. If it's not in your will, take it away from me. And if it is, like, let me just walk in your purpose. And I'm following that right now, and it's a hard walk, but it's really.
So if Jesus, let's say, Jesus is here, right? But let's say Jesus was sitting right here, and he's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about investing in a movie, investing in a story," and he comes to you and is like, "Can you give me a few stories and see if I can, if I want to invest in those? What type of stories would you bring to him? What type of I don't know. Yeah. What's your passion?"
Honestly, like drama, faith-based type of like motivational, inspiring, like something kind of like, you know, a little bit of a mix of like Pursuit of Happiness, but, you know, maybe a little bit more faith-based. Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, I think.
What are these the Wattpads you said?
Yeah.
What are the stories? Well, you said as a little kid you used to write stories. What are those stories? Like, I'm curious.
Honestly, they were all like romantic, like really sad or comedy rom-coms type of like stories, like little short stories. But yeah, Wattpad is really, it's blowing up now. There's a lot of movies that are, you know, I think the one with Anne Hathaway, it was based off of like a Wattpad movie. A Wattpad story. So, and the one that we just filmed, which is coming out in November, selective theaters. But seriously though, it's based off of Wattpad as well. The writer, she blew up from Wattpad, so it's really exciting. And yeah, honestly, Wattpad's a great. If you really want to, like, you know, if you're a writer and, you know, like, yeah, it could either become a best-selling novel, and you could, you know, or someone wants.
I'm not, but my kids are.
Yeah, they should check it out. It's so good. Yeah,
that's so cool. Wow. Well, I can't wait to see where God's gonna take you, because I think, you know, you've been obedient and you've been submitting, you know, so we can only hope, and it's not a hope. I think it's more like we know, because that's how God is. You know, He moves, and once you open the doors to Him, He opens doors, right, that nobody else can shut. And it's just like the testimony of Jonathan Rumi and other people, you know, that once you surrender to God, He's like, hey, how about this lead role I have for you right here, right?
It's so crazy.
So, and we're also excited for you to take this journey of podcasting, you know.
Thank you.
Today being
welcome to the community.
It's so crazy. I feel so like peaceful, you know, like it's actually very calm. I'm so excited now, you know, because it's always in the back of my head, like, oh, what it would be like to talk to, you know, in the podcast, all that stuff. And I already did a couple interviews, but like this type of energy, it's really good.
I think you're so natural.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
you. Well, you guys are so natural, and you guys have such great energies. And honestly, I'm so excited for your ventures. And like this studio, it's honestly, it's renovated now, and it's so nice. And I'm just really excited for what God has plans for you guys, because it's doing a lot of work.
It's all about timing.
It's doing a lot of work right now. You guys have no idea. It's definitely, you guys are helping a lot of people out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Boom. We're gonna go to our emojis. Oh yeah. So this is how I like to wrap up the English episodes.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll, baby.
That's how we roll, baby. Okay, so I call this the Beliefometer. All right, I'm gonna explain it to you. I also have one of these emojis on my hat. Check them out at christianpodcast.com, my shop.
That's awesome.
So this is blasphemous emoji. Then next comes a skeptical emoji.
Okay.
Then inspired emoji in the middle. Then holy. And finally divine. So that's why I call it Beliefometer, or a spectrum of belief. So it goes from the worst to the best. Okay, so you're going to walk through the 5 emojis by saying, according to you, and maybe even it would be fun to do it kind of like in the film industry.
Okay.
The worst ideas to the best, right? Or you can talk about your testimony, whichever, you know, but you know, if it's the film industry, that's fine.
Okay.
So the first one is blasphemous. So according to Aisha Lizardo, what is the most blasphemous idea out there in the film industry, or being an actor even?
Blasphemous. That's such a hard question.
The worst. What have you witnessed that's the worst?
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, like Hollywood itself is just like, like, I'm not saying it's the devil, but like there are
Hollywood is the devil,
Yeah,
and it's
I
the
love
worst,
that.
and it's blasphemous.
It is
We take it.
blasphemous. It's scary, like the Me Too people, and what's the most blasphemous about the film industry is producers and like big names like trying to take advantage of women in the film industry. 100%. Yeah.
That's
Jackie.
horrible.
Yeah.
Jackie.
Yeah.
That's
like that
yucky.
Nickelodeon guy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that sounds horrible. Yeah, we know Hollywood has that.
Right? Lots of blasphemous
Okay.
things. Yeah.
Moving on to the next one, skeptical. Where do you see skepticism played out, or what are you still skeptical of when it comes to maybe the film industry?
What do I say? What's skeptical? I mean, the music in the background is so funny. I'm like, damn. What's skeptical about the music industry, the film industry, like in general, or how I feel? Like
How you feel, whichever. Just take it whatever you want to take it.
Like I don't want to sound so like negative.
Well,
It's
it gets
okay.
better,
It's
so
okay.
What's skeptical about? I think it's. Oh my gosh. Okay, can you guys give me an example so like
No.
I could get?
We can skip that one.
you want to skip it?
Because it is blasphemous in a sense. So yeah, I guess.
What makes you doubt?
Oh, what makes me doubt about the film industry?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like things are changing now. A lot of things are changing, and it's kind of scary. AI definitely is scary because
Okay, that's a good one,
there's
yeah.
Finally, I was like, okay, that's something in my head now. Yeah, AI is definitely giving me skeptical vibes, just because now what I hear is like they're replacing a lot of like even background actors at this point, and we're all trying to get our money. We're all trying to work even just for a day. So I think what I heard, I don't know if I can confirm, but I heard that AI would take like a background extra's like face, and they would like kind of use it and just use it and like multiply with, I don't know, it's weird, but regardless, like we're getting less, we're getting less jobs because of it.
Wow.
Yeah, because
AI
of AI
is bad.
Yeah, AI is bad. AI
is
the devil.
bad.
AI is the
Skeptical of
devil.
AI. Makes sense. Wow. Inspire emoji. See, it gets better.
Okay.
Where do you see hope?
do I see
what
hope?
inspires you? What's good about that industry?
What inspires me is just like being able to tell a story that is very important, that actually is like super, purposeful to, help and serve others and stuff. I'm having hope with the script that I'm writing right now. I'm very excited for that, to be honest, and I hope it reaches, a lot to a lot of like viewers and stuff. So we'll
Your
see.
script?
Yeah, the story
Nice.
that I'm
Okay.
that I'm writing right now. Or
That's cool.
Yeah.
We'll pray for that at the end.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Mile, the next one, invite her into the next one.
The next, that's que divine?
No.
Oh no, holy idea.
Holy idea. Probably the script, honestly, about the film industry. Probably the
Inspire,
script.
yeah.
Very inspiring. And also just kind of like even the idea of like venturing out, maybe doing directing or like, producing something. I don't know. Like we'll see where it goes. And something like genuinely like that focuses on God. We need more like Christian based films, or like, just something that really like represents who God is, and hopefully we reach more people out who are non-Christians to be able to kind of like resonate with that film, and then get, how do I say it? You then get curious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope one day that, that happens more. Yeah.
Love it.
Divine idea.
Divine idea. So a divine idea?
Yes.
Wow. All I keep thinking about is just creating more films. Like, I don't know, like with the film industry. Yeah. I think just like maybe just again like creating like that like a really good film that like just resonates with God more, and that will honestly just reach out to viewers who are not just Christians. But yeah, that would be really, really amazing. And you know, we can like move forward from there and then see where that goes. Who knows? Yeah, I gotta pray over it, talk to my mentors about it. Yeah, it'll be really interesting. Yeah.
Love it.
Yes. We believe that God is using all these platforms for him.
Yeah.
You know, because the church is coming like this.
Yeah.
But God is using podcasts. They're using like programs like The Chosen, you know. So we know more movies are up there, like base or religion base, and it's been so helpful just for us, for our family, to understand more who is Jesus and what is our role in this world. And how his kingdom work. So
that's so good.
It's fun.
Yes. Okay, Millie, pray for the script, the story she's writing. Just
Please
pray.
do. Yeah.
I know. We're in 2024.
Yeah.
Imagine this story could resonate for the rest of this century.
Yeah, we come to you, dear Lord. Thank you, God, for this space. Thank you for today, sunny day, hot outside. Thank you for this beautiful air conditioner. God, I just put this project in your hands and do whatever you want with this project. At the end of the day, this is for you, but we have peace and comfort that you are working in her life for her and through her. Thank you for all that creativity. Thank you for all the lives are coming to you through that script. God is in your hands. This is your project. And just send angels around her and bless and fulfill all her needs so she can continue with this project. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys.
Amen. Thank you. So good. This was awesome.
This was great.
Okay, I'm gonna just put the song to end.
I think you just did your part, you know, and God is calling us, to all of us, to just surrender.
Yeah.
It's such a strong thing to do, Beto.
Surrender,
Surrender, you know, like
I like surrender too. Sounds fun. Surrender. I like it.
You know, honey, that's what
so
you
funny.
have.
Yeah. Surrender, my friends, to Jesus. I like it.
Surrender.
Becomes merch.
It's the same. Yeah, surrender.
That's what I'm talking about.
I love it.
Yes.
No, you're right.
We can do this.
Okay,
Yeah.
Aisha, Lizardo, thank you so much for
Thank you.
being on the show. Thank you for
guys.
that I just love it. That you're stepping into, like, I don't know. You knocked on the door.
Hard.
You're here. You're
Yeah.
showing up, and you have a dream and a vision and a passion. And I think we're gonna be working together. And we're gonna support you
I
with
see
your
it.
podcast.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for Aisha Lizardo. Maybe if you want to invite people, maybe to follow you on Instagram. If you have an Instagram.
Yeah, it's at Asia Lizardo, ASIALIZARDO, and that's it.
There we go.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate everything that you guys have done, and this is really a divine appointment. Like it's just deeper than just like the podcast itself. It just it's very inspiring to just keep me going forward into the projects that I'm doing, honestly.
And I know for sure a lot of people is gonna listen to this, Beto, and it's gonna be so helpful for probably kids they're studying the same or they're going to the same path.
Yeah.
That's a good advice.
Yeah,
and it's so
I agree.
hopeful, so hopeful.
So hopeful. And it's just honestly, I think the biggest take is like, don't identify yourself to to that big dream that you have, in a sense. Like, really surrender it to God. I think if I had a choice to tell my kids that one day, give it to God and let him do the work in you, and he will just bless it 10 times fold. But yeah, the fact that you don't attach yourself to that whatever worldly identity it is, and that you just attach yourself to Christ is the most important thing. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
So good. Okay, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Maybe if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, want to remind you to like, subscribe, share the episode. Visit us on christianpodcast.com. Check out Aisha Lizardo. Send us your comments, questions that you might have. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being the light and the salt of this world.
Oh.
Aisha, thank you.
You as well. You as well, guys.
Ciao.